What is pi? Pi is one of my favorite desserts, but it's also a very important mathematical phenomena. Pi is the value of the circumference of a circle divided by its diameter. Now let's explore that. Here, I'm using an apple pie to show you how we can find the value of pi. I start by measuring the circumference, which is the length around the whole outside of the pie. The circumference of this pie is 61 centimeters. I then measure the diameter of the pie, the distance across the pie. The diameter of this apple pie is 19.5 centimeters. Now, to approximate the ratio between the two, we had a circumference of 61 centimeters and a diameter of 19.5 centimeters. When you divide the circumference by the diameter, we got 3.128. You can see that the method that I used here is not super precise. But if you take the circumference of a circle and divide it by the diameter of a circle, no matter how big or small, you will always get just larger than 3. Pi is this value. Pi is the circumference divided by the diameter. And using computers, the approximate value is 3.14. Now, for the history of pi. The first evidence that this number was found was by the Babylonians in 1800 BC. It was found on a round tablet and had a value of 3.125, which is not super far off from what we have today. In 250 BC, Archimedes of Greek used polygons to approximate the value of pi. Since then, mathematicians from many different cultures have used this polygon technique to determine a further and further value of pi. Since the addition of computers, more and more values of pi could be determined. In 2019, Google announced that they knew pi to the 31st trillionth decimal point. However, NASA rounds their numbers to the 39th value because even determining the size of the circumference of the known universe using the 39th decimal point of pi gives this calculation the precision of 1 atom. So, why is the value of pi important? It is used by physicists, engineers, oceanographers, data scientists, cartographers, architects, seismologists, game designers, and many more professions. Not only is pi useful in the calculations of circles and circular things, but with the use of a unit circle, it applies to calculations using angles and graphs, meaning that pi is crucial in the calculations for construction, movement, data interpretation, and much more. So why do teachers care about pi? Well, it is part of geometry starting in grade 7. It is used throughout high school and university. It is an important value in calculating the area of a circle, the volume of spheres and cylinders. It is also used throughout calculus. To integrate the phenomena of pi into the grade 7 curriculum, I would use the making of a drum. To start, you would need to figure out how long of a piece of wood you would need to go around the outside. The distance around the edge is called the circumference. The circumference is calculated by multiplying the diameter of your circle by pi. If you wanted a drum that is 50 centimeters across, you would need to multiply 50 by pi. This would give you 157.08 centimeters. This is how long of a piece of wood you would need to make a drum that is 50 centimeters across. However, you would likely want a piece that's slightly longer, keeping in mind that you would need to join the edges of the circle together. Next, you would want to calculate how much hide you'd need to cover the front of the drum. The front area of the drum is called the surface area. The surface area of a circle is calculated by pi multiplied by the radius squared. For instance, if you wanted a drum that was 50 centimeters across, the radius would be half of that, which is 25 centimeters. Therefore, the surface area would be 25 centimeters squared multiplied by pi. In this case, you would have a surface area 1,963 centimeters squared, or 19.63 meters squared. This is the minimum because you have to remember that you would want a little bit of extra height to cover the edges. The first teaching resource I'd like to share with you is the NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory out of California Institute of Technology. If you go into the Education Teach section of this website, you can see that it is filled with different activities. I'm going to type in pi and see what they have. You can see that there's activities related to Earth, Mars, and a bunch of other places in space. Each activity is marked their grades and the recommended ages. I'm going to pick one that's for the correct grade, which in this case I'm doing grade 7. So I'm going to look for one for grade 7 and I'm going to click on it. Within each problem set, you can see that the activity details are laid out, as well as the overview, materials, background, procedures, recommended assessments, and extensions. There's also posters that come with each of these, and a lot of them are quite well thought out and related to what NASA might be doing. The second resource I'd like to show you is from scholastic.com. In here there is different activities done by different teachers across the world. They're all focused around pi, including discovering pi, celebrating pi, and applying pi. They're all great things that you can do with your grade 6s to 8s. This is a YouTube video that explains the formula for the area of a circle. Lastly, I'd like to share the Britannica page for pi. Here it explains what pi is, its values, as well as its symbols. It then goes through, in detail, the history of pi and how the decimal points and uses for pi have developed throughout the years. Finally, it explains the uses of pi. I also use the BC curriculum throughout to determine what I should be doing for each grades. It was also my resource for coming up with the idea to make the drum. Thank you so much for watching my video.